Hello and welcome. Today I'm going to be playing with new and new to me makeup. So my eyeshadow, my blush and highlight, and my lipstick are all new or new to me products. So if you'd like to see what those all are and how I put this whole look together and my thoughts on these new products, just keep on watching. I have my foundation and concealer, and I have cream contour bronzer and a powder bronzer on as well. I've done my brows and I think that's it. So now I want to move on to the eyes before I do the rest of the face. I do have, oh, here's Freddie. Can you say hi? I do have a new cream blush and cream highlight to show you, but I wanted to get into the eyes first before we move into anything else. So let's get started. So today I'm going to be using the new Pat McGrath Celestial Odyssey palette. This was one of Pat's holiday releases this year and it looks really beautiful. I haven't used it yet. I've swatched a few of the shades but haven't put any of them on my eyes yet. And I'm thinking today I'm gonna not go too colorful. I'm thinking more in the sort of neutral brown taupe category. Here's Freddie again. And maybe with a little pop of that beautiful green down there. We'll see how it goes, but I think I'm gonna stick mostly to the browns, golds, and taupe shade. So first up, I'm gonna take my classic crease and go right into that matte brown there. So there's that matte brown on the lids. You could probably tell when I first put it on, it was really, really pigmented and it looked really quite dark, but it just blended out so beautifully. And I think that's one of the great things about Pat McGrath's mattes. Even if they look like a quite deep shade, you can kind of use them for multiple purposes. You can use it as sort of more true to the color that you see in the pan, the deeper shade for, you know, extra shadowing and sort of contouring of the eye. But you can also blend them out really so nicely so that they can act as a transition shade as well. That's one of the nice things that I found about Pat's mattes in her Mothership palettes as well. And because her palettes tend not to have a lot of mattes, like I think this one here, it has 18 shades in total and I think only 4 of them are mattes. So that might not seem like a lot, but you can do a lot with just 1 or 2 mattes in these palettes. So I'm going to, I think, leave that there and then take another brush into the same shade so I can get a little bit more of the depth and shading that I want right concentrated more into the crease and outer V area. So I'm going to use the Sonia G Soft Definer for that. I'm not sure if I got good footage of it, but I had gone a little bit overboard with the deepening up right in this area on that eye. So I just took my clean classic crease brush that I had wiped off so it didn't have any shadow on it. I just used it right there where I had a little bit too much going on, and it really blended it out so easily and really fixed that little mistake with no problem at all. That's just one matte shade on the lids right now, and now I'm ready to get into some of the shimmers, which I'm really excited about. So I think I'm going to go into this one first. It's kind of like a deep brown shimmer. It's kind of a similar tone to the matte that I already have on, although this leans a little bit more sort of neutral golden, while the matte leans a little more toward a reddish brown color. But they're similarly deep, and I'm just taking that on my finger and patting it diagonally in the same pattern that I had kind of applied that deepening matte shade there. Just kind of on a diagonal to further just emphasize that shape of the eye, but without really changing the color, although adding a little bit of interest with the texture. All right, so there we have that shimmery brown added in. And next I want to go into this shade right here, which is kind of, I think it's a duochrome shade. It's a different type of formula than the shimmer that I just used. It's much more high shine and has, I would say, more different sized sort of glitter or sparkly pigments in there. So I'm just going to take this also on my finger and just cover the rest of the lid with it. Oh yeah, it's definitely at least a duochrome, if not a triochrome. I can see copper shifts in there. I can also see rosy pink shifts. And I think the base color is more like a kind of neutral gold, but you don't even really see that color. You're just mesmerized by the shifting of the pink and copper shades. I'm going to take a little bit of that on my Sonia G Mini Booster just to get a nice blend on the inner part of the crease, especially here. This doesn't really add a lot of color. It doesn't add that shiny impact like you can get with your finger, or I'm sure you could also get a shinier impact with a denser packing brush. This is really just to sort of blend that shadow right through there. Now I am going to dip into the green a little bit, this one right down here. This is also a duochrome. Please excuse all the cat hair all over the palette. And this is like the same formula as the bronzy one, the copper rose one that I put on my lid. And I think this is the shade that really drew a lot of people into this palette, myself included. I'm just gently blending it up a little bit. I'm not doing like a harsh line like I sometimes do with a contrast color on the inner crease. I'm doing more of sort of just a gradual blend from the inner corner up onto the lid, because I really like the effect of it on top of that other duochrome shade. Those tones together create something entirely different. And then just pulling it along the inner third of my lower lash line. And then to finish off the lower lash line, I want to try this shade right here. It's kind of a warm, deep rose color, or a warm, deep rose gold at least. Almost corally. It'll be interesting to see how it blends out. So I'm just going to pull this along my lower lash line. Yeah, it ends up looking like a rusty red tone, on me at least. Okay, I like that red there, but it needs to be toned down and blended out a little bit. So I'm thinking I'll try this one down here. It's like a light, cool champagne gold. Taking that on my mini booster. I'm just blending that at the bottom of that red and the green too. And just to keep a sense of cohesiveness throughout the eye, I'm taking the same shade on the same brush and just blending around the edges of the top as well. And it's kind of doing the dual purpose of blending and giving me a little bit of a brow bone highlight too. Okay, I think that's great. I'm going to go in with my liner. I'll use my Victoria Beckham Cocoa liner along the lash line and in the upper waterline as well. And then I'm going to use some mascara, which is going to be the L'Oreal Voluminous Original Mascara in the shade Blackest Black, I think is what it is. So I'm going to finish up my eyes, and then I'll be right back to finish up the face, the lips, and share my thoughts on everything that I've tried today. Okay, and here are the eyes all completed. So in addition to doing everything that I said I was going to do with the liner and mascara, I also took that deep brown shade that I used, very first shade I used on my lids, and just took that on my flat definer brush and went over top of where I had already put the cocoa liner on the lash line, just to sort of blend it out a little bit and soften it out, and also to really set down that liner color. Now moving into blush and highlighter, both of the products I'm using today are going to be from Minori Beauty. And these were very kindly sent to me by Minori Beauty. And they sent me the shade Orchid for the blush. So it's this really beautiful kind of nude, neutral, maybe leaning a little bit toward the cool side. Really perfect everyday kind of blush color. And then they sent me their cream highlighter. It's in the exact same type of packaging. This is in the shade Champagne. It's the lighter of their two highlight shades. Right there, I think I had a little bit of blush mixed in with that, but you can see that sort of warm golden champagne tone, but not too deep. I've used both of these on my skin tone, and both of these colors work really nicely on my skin, so I think even if your skin is as fair as mine, both the blush and the highlighter will work for you. So I'm taking my Sonia G Classic Base, my favorite cream cheek brush, and I'm just going to go right into that pot, pick up the product, and get it on my cheeks. So I made sure to go in with a fair amount on my brush, more than I usually start out with the cream blush. But I think that this is more moderately pigmented, which is great because it means you can just have the lightest little flush, and if you only want a really light amount of blush and a really faint color, you can easily get that. And if you want more, you can easily get that too. You just put a little bit more on the brush to start out with, and I want quite a blushy look here. And I'm probably going to top up the blush again after I've done the highlighter. But let's move on to the highlighter. You saw how easily that blush blended. I hope you could tell anyway. And it's really a dream to blend, and it's quite different from any other cream blush that I have. Same with the highlighter. It feels like the same formula, just with, you know, different pigments and different levels of shimmer in there. But I kind of think of these as almost more like a cream to powder formula. It's a very dry feeling cream, which I think helps it to really blend so beautifully and easily. And it has almost like a blurring effect, I find. It really feathers out like no other cream blush that I've ever tried. And I think that this makes it especially versatile for putting on top of any type of base. So you could have your unset foundation, or just if you were going for a really no makeup look, which these products are perfect for, you could just do it on your bare skin or your skincare, and it'll blend and look beautiful. But you can also put it on top of a fully powdered base, and I think it's still going to blend really, really easily and beautifully that way too. And it's the same with the highlight as the blush. If you want a really, really light, kind of barely there sheen, you can just start with a very small amount of the highlighter, or if you want to build it up more like I have here, you can go in with a bit of a stronger amount of the product on your brush. I am just taking a tiny bit more of the blush just to top up on the apples of the cheeks. And I think that both of these products give such a beautiful, really natural look, and I'm really, really happy with these. I think they're excellent, and I would be very curious to try the other shade of the blush. They have a kind of, it looks like kind of like a reddish shade of the cream blush as well, which I think in this formula especially would be amazing, because red blushes on my skin tone can tend to build up really, really quickly and not be that easy to blend out, at least to the level that I would need them to be blended out, so that I didn't look almost clown-like with big red cheeks. But I think in this formula where you can start with such a light level of color, I think that the red color would be really beautiful. But I love this Orchid color too. I think it's stunning, perfect everyday color. And as I mentioned, it will work perfectly for like a full makeup look like this, or for a no makeup. Same with the highlighter. And I think they're just gorgeous products. They also sent me 2 of their lip glosses, and I don't have them with me here because they're in my jacket pockets, because they're the type of product that I just want to have everywhere I go. They're really comfortable. They have a really good amount of pigment, especially for a gloss. They really add life and color to your lips, and they're so easy to just apply and reapply. So I've been loving those as well. And I'm so grateful to Minori for sending me those products. So last but not least is the lips. And I mentioned in a previous video that I was going to be using this. This is the Makeup by Mario Ultra Suede lipstick, and I have it in the shade Annie, which is kind of a mid-toned rosy shade, but on the more vibrant side, I would say. So that's what it looks like. I'll do some comparisons in a moment, but I really want to get this on my lips now, so here we go. And here's Annie on the lips. I think this is a beautiful color. They had a very wide range of shades to choose from, and there was actually one called Kate that I was very tempted to buy, but it looked a little bit less vibrant than this one, although in a similar depth range. But I really was drawn to this Annie shade because I could tell that it had a brightness to it that I really like in a lipstick. The feeling of it, I would say, is it's almost like it's in between the Lisa Eldridge and the Bite Power Move. It's definitely not as creamy and sort of almost moisturizing feeling as the Lisa Eldridge velvets can be, but it's not quite as weightless as those Bite Power Move lipsticks, but feels a little bit more like that. It has a little bit of a more dry feeling and a little bit of sort of a thinner texture to it. It feels still very comfortable, and I really am loving this shade. So now let's get into some comparisons for this shade. So here are my comparisons. So this is Annie from Makeup by Mario. This is Velvet Petal by Lisa Eldridge. This is Velvet Muse by Lisa Eldridge, and this is Spirited Away by Lisa Eldridge. Looking at these four colors, I can see immediately that Spirited Away is the most similar to Annie, but Spirited Away is in the Luxuriously Lucent formula, so it's a very different feel and texture and look from this one in terms of how it's going to sit on the lips. This one is, as you can see, quite matte, and Spirited Away has a little bit more of a light shine to it and is a totally different texture, but quite similar tones. And then the two in the middle here, I was just really reminded of Velvet Petal when I was applying this Annie shade, because Velvet Petal has that similar kind of warmth and vibrancy to it, although they're in different tones. Velvet Petal I really think of as a warm, vibrant pink. And this Annie shade here, I can really see, it's like a coral rose. So it has that coral orangey warmth to it, but it also has rosy tones and doesn't lean really into the pink category like Velvet Petal does. And then Velvet Muse is quite different. It looks very brown compared to these other shades here. It's just more toned down than Annie, and I think that Velvet Muse is probably more similar to the Kate shade that I mentioned. It's just a little bit more brownish and not as vibrant as this one here. So again, Annie from Makeup by Mario, and then these three are Lisa Eldridge, Velvet Petal, Velvet Muse, and Spirited Away. So just to round up my thoughts on everything, starting with the eyeshadow palette, very, very happy with this. I think the formulas, I think I used all the formulas that are in here. I obviously only used a few of the shades, but all of the formulas worked really beautifully, and I think that those duochrome shades are very, very special. The shimmers and satiny type shades are very beautiful as well, very easy to work with, and the mattes I really appreciate for the tones and for the variety of ways that you can use them, either built up and deepened or blended out to be used as transition shades. And I like that you can use the shimmers as people would more traditionally use mattes as well, like using them on the lower lash line. There's quite enough pigment for them to work in those types of areas as well. And I think the color palette is really beautiful, and I'm excited to play with more of those shades. The cheek products from Minori I think are just stunning, and I can't wait to see where this brand grows. I had never heard of them before they contacted me, but I'm really, really happy to have discovered them now, and I love both of these products. I think they give the most beautiful, fresh, and natural highlight and blush to the cheek. They're really easy to work with, and again, very versatile, can be used very lightly or can be built up to give more of an impact, but they just blend so beautifully, and they really, the term I keep thinking of is that they kind of feather out in the most beautiful, natural way. And these two colors that I played with today are just beautiful. The components are really lovely too. These are frosted glass components. They have a nice weight to them. And the cap is this really kind of satisfying texture. It's that soft matte kind of texture, kind of like the NARS packaging. And I love the color of it. I think it's a beautiful neutral tone to represent the brand as kind of a more minimalist brand, but with really beautiful and high quality products. So I'm really happy with those cheek products. And the lipstick I'm really happy with as well. It's not going to replace my Lisa Eldridge lipsticks, of course, but I think that it's a very good formula. I like the way the finish looks. It's matte, but it's not flat. It's really beautifully saturated. I feel that this is going to wear very well. I'll have to update you in the description box on how this wears, but it feels like it's really on the lips and that it's really gonna have a good staying power to it. The feeling is comfortable, a little bit dry, but not drying. So you can feel that you have the lipstick on your lips. You can feel that it's not a really creamy formula, but it doesn't feel like it's sucking the moisture out of your lips either. So I think it's a really great happy medium, especially for a matte texture. I really love this beautiful kind of vibrant coral rose shade. I also really like the packaging for this. I love that kind of stark white that the Makeup by Mario brand has throughout all of its product. And the weight of this component is actually quite good as well. It feels, I don't know what it's made of. It feels like a combination of metal and plastic, like a hybrid metal plastic sort of feeling. I'm not sure what it is, but I do like it. I think the inside looks beautiful with that silver. And I just think this is a great lipstick, and it has a magnetic closure, which I love. Okay, I think that's everything for this video. Thank you so much for watching. Let me know below if you have any questions or comments. I'd love to see those. And if you'd like to see more from me and you haven't subscribed to my channel already, I'd really love for you to do so. Thanks so much again for watching. Take care, and I'll see you in my next video.